All right, just to close down here. So lands are colonized to exploit resources, including those human resources, not to install factories in Asia or Africa or the South Pacific, right? The imperial powers really depended on these lands for raw materials and also hoped that they would provide markets for manufactured goods. That often did not play out, right? Some of these lands were not conducive to raw materials, and certainly most of them did not have markets for manufactured goods. In fact, it will engender nationalism in most of these places where people want the foreign rulers out. We'll see this rise in Africa, especially after World War I. We'll see it rise in Asia. In fact, we did with the Boxer Rebellion. We'll see it rise in India with the rise of the Indian National Congress. As upper-class people in these colonies became educated, they saw the hypocrisy of the Europeans, Americans, and Japanese, right? When they learned the values of the Enlightenment and human rights, they're like, but the colonial powers, the metropole, is not practicing these human rights for us, right? So there'll be a rise of nationalism. So nations are ruled by their own people. That will not be achieved in most places until after World War II. India, 1947, most African nations, the late 50s, early 60s. But we do see this nationalism starting to arise in these places. The legacy today is, especially a place like Africa, the borders of African nations today were drawn by colonial powers in the 1880s, 1890s. They don't necessarily make sense to the people on the ground historically or culturally. So people of an ethnic group who naturally would be united were divided. Right? The line goes through them, and some end up in the British colony, some end up in the French colony. They learn different languages, different religions, etc. So national lines, colonial lines could divide people who shouldn't have been divided, and maybe lump people together who didn't quite get along. So we see these colonial legacies still playing out today. Certainly, the imperial era will help to lead to World War I. It's one of